Shalom and welcome to Shmooze Views. Happy to have you here today. Today it's going to be a short video today. I just have some food for thought and for discussion. In fact, after this video is over, you may want to discuss it, so be sure to put your comments down below. It's not meant to be controversial, but it is academic and it is questions that have been asked for a long time by academics, by rabbis, by students of the Torah, both the written and oral. And that is, which version of the Torah is the oldest and most original? I touched upon this in an earlier video, talking about the North and South kingdoms and their origin stories. But today I just want to briefly go over some of the differences between the versions of the oral versions and origin stories that came from the north, and those in Israel, and those that came from the South Kingdom in Judea. So as I said, this is just food for thought. Now, the Northern Kingdom's version has Abraham actually murdering Isaac. And Jacob actually has no direct blood relation to Abraham other than marrying into his family line with Rebekah and Leah. Now, Jacob only has 6 sons instead of 12, with Judah not even being one of them mentioned. And Joseph, well, according to the Northern Kingdom's origin story, Joseph is pulled out of the well by the Midianite nomadic traders, and the Midianites sell Joseph to Potiphar, an Egyptian leader in charge of prisons. His wife never tempts Joseph. He is in prison, not as a prisoner, but as a slave serving the elites that have been imprisoned by Pharaoh and so forth. Now, the Southern Kingdom, getting its name from Judah, have him as the main character after Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, thereby justifying the Davidic bloodline as legitimate for kingship. It also has Jerusalem in the Southern Kingdom of Judah as the only rightful location for the temple, while the Northern Kingdom version has it placed in Mount Gerizim, located in Samaria, within the Northern Kingdom. Now, if you look at the Bible we have today, with the eye of an open-minded literary critic, you can easily see how the scribes, editors, and redactors tried to meld these two opposing versions into one coherent body of work. Plus, there is the old debate about the contribution between J, E, D, and P, which is a discussion for a much later time. Now, all these cut and paste operations took place during the Babylonian captivity of the elites from Israel, circa 526 to 597 BCE, before the Common Era. Now, fearing their oral stories would be lost, since they weren't sure if and when they would be released from their captivity. They wanted to ensure that these traditions and these origin stories would not be lost. So they tried to put together an accounting that would be acceptable to the remnants of both the Northern and Southern kingdoms that were now situated in Babylon. And just a word here about this is nothing new. This has been done before. Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi decided to commit the Torah, the Mishnah. In fact, I got a copy of it right here. The Mishnah to writing. Before 200 CE, the Common Era, the Mishnah, or what it has come to be known as the Talmud, was purely oral. It was not committed to writing. But Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi decided to commit it to writing for one reason and one reason only. because he was afraid, he had fear that it would be lost or distorted after Rome had fully dispersed the Jews throughout the empire after the Bar Kokhba revolt circa 135 CE. And so in order to preserve the discussions of the rabbis concerning the Torah, the written Torah, and the oral Torah was then placed in writing and called the Mishnah. So we do have a precedent of taking stories that were oral, contributions which were all passed orally, and putting them in the writing. And we got a pretty good historical solid foundation for recognizing and accepting, unless we dig something up at some point in the future. But up to now, we have not found anything like that. There was a time when the oldest copy of the Torah we had was between 1 and 200 CE. But with the Dead Sea Scrolls, that knocked it back about 100 years before the Common Era, during the Hasmonean period. So you never know what's going to be found in the future, but as of it stands today, the Jewish Bible that we currently have, particularly the Torah, was put together by the scribes and priests and what would probably be one day known as rabbis, put together and compiled all of these stories to try to make a good, solid basis in writing so that those stories would not be lost. And today we have the Bible. So if you have any questions about that, or you would like to comment about that, I know when I told when I put this down, I actually put this down in writing. You can find it on our website, but I wanted to make a quick video about it. There was a fellow on one of the Jewish sites that I go to. He wanted to know where I got such poppycock ideas from. Well, they're not really poppycock ideas. If you study the Torah, study the language of the Torah, the biblical Hebrew, you can actually see where edits were done. You can see where things just kind of stopped short and new edits were put in that tried to explain what occurred before, but were not part of the original what came before. So it's not uncommon. It doesn't take away at all from the importance of the Torah in our lives. It doesn't take away anything from our traditions, nothing like that at all. So I think it's important to understand, if you're going to trust in something, if you're going to base your life on it, and your traditions and your attitude and your outlook on life and your perceptions, if you're going to base it, you darn well better know where it came from and how it came to be. And the more and more now through archaeology, the more we find sites, many of them confirm what the Bible has to say. Like, there was a time, if you go back far enough, when skeptics thought Jericho didn't exist. And it was found, and it comes to be one of the oldest cities still in the Middle East. And it goes on and on like that, And they also have found so far evidence that some of the things may not occurred exactly as the Bible said they did. And I went over that in the other video. And I'll put a link to that video down in the description here, as well as a link to our website and our Schmooze Views locals community, and the way you can get a hold of us through email. Before I close out, I want to show you a couple books that can help some of this, explain some of this. One of them is a classic, and it's called This is the Torah by Alfred Kolach, and I highly recommend it if you want a good basic understanding of the Torah. Okay, here it is right here. You can get that on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, anywhere a good bookstore is located. The other book is a bit controversial. I don't know if it's for everyone, but if you really want to look into the Northern Kingdom's views on what was biblical and the Southern Kingdom's views on what was biblical, and see how those were redacted and edited and put together the best they could be put together without causing too much apparent contradiction. I mean, there is some things that you can see, well, this contradicts that. But overall, I think they did one heck of a job with what they had available to them and putting together what we know as the Jewish Bible. It's tremendous work. And that book, which, like I said, is quite controversial, I highly recommend it for those, though, however, that are truly open-minded enough to understand that, you know, there's a way the world works, and it doesn't all just blah, 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 okay? Things happen over long periods of time, changes are made, new insight is put in. Anyway, that book by Zema Yore is called Why Abraham Murdered Isaac, the First Stories of the Bible is Revealed. And this book, like I said, is a must-have if you're a serious investigator into the origins and the compilation and the putting together of the Jewish Bible as we have it today. So remember, it wasn't all put together. Our Bible that we have is not one book. It's a series of books that have been compiled at different times. Some have been lost and refound. And by the time of the Babylonian exile, they started putting these together and trying to make some kind of coherent sense out of it. And I think they did a tremendous job. So I'd encourage you, if you're really serious, check this one out. And if you want a real basic understanding of the Torah and how it got here and what its meanings are, then I definitely recommend Kolach's book. So enough said on that. I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be informed when the new videos come up. There's going to be, Lord willing, a lot more coming. But we need your help. We need you to hit the subscribe button, the like button. We'd love to hear your comments. The more we interact, the more people will become informed and learn. And that's the whole reason why I'm here, is to teach so that you learn from me and I can learn from you. So anyway, until next time, you take care. You have a wonderful day, and may shalom rule your heart and your mind at all times. Bye-bye.